What's up, people? All right, folks, welcome to Inside the Numbers with the People's Pundit. I'm your host, Rich Barris, the People's Pundit. If you like the videos, don't forget to like them and share them far and wide. It's Freewheeling Friday, so I will get to your questions. We're going to do a little bit of a freewheeling day. Also, I was kind of hoping the environment would be a little bit better by now. We're going to go over some of the social bias indicators so you guys can see some of the stuff of what we're dealing with, how people are reacting while we're conducting interviews, right? Who's throwing these signals? Is it the same people? I'll tell you right now, ironically, it's white people. All right. I think that in this last round, and I showed you the quotas from the 24th on, I'm going to show you last night's quotas, and I'm going to show you who we spoke to, what they look like, right? Where are they? And what groups of people did we fall shy of what we wanted to collect? All right. It should jump right out at you. All of this. Ironically, in 2020, there were some signals being thrown. I haven't had a chance yet, honestly, to dig into the social bias indicators and cross them with various ethnicities. But Black men specifically threw a lot of signals in 2020. I'm looking at the numbers for, we spoke to over 500 and something African Americans yesterday alone. 524 African American voters, I think. Hold on. I'm actually going to give you that number right now. 1 second. That's a good amount for a racial subgroup for a single time. And 524, I remembered. And it is, I'm looking at it because unlike the Wall Street Journal poll, which showed Trump coming down quite a bit with black voters against Kamala Harris, we did not. And we're not finding the same levels we found under Joe Biden, because for sure, black females have returned to the Democratic Party, or at least I would say some of them have. That were previously not voting for Joe Biden. But you got to remember that group packed the undecideds, right? That is not really the case anymore. Most of the undecideds at this point appear to be more Trump-friendly demographics. Against Joe Biden, Trump had a lead off the bat. And then the undecided vote, when we lean them, would put Trump over and put him over but Joe Biden would put him over 50, but Joe Biden would close the gap. This is the reverse. And this is now the second time we're seeing this. It looks like Harris and Trump are about even. Maybe she's a little ahead nationally. And then the undecideds put it at like an even to Trump +1 environment. All right. Trump is now winning the leaners. Why is that? The difference in the race has changed who the undecided vote is. And it's the undecided vote is a more male vote than it was before. And it's more friendly to Trump. Okay, so some things have changed. But that all being said, when I show you the quotas, you're going to see we didn't have this problem before. We just didn't. These groups that are certainly going to make polls understate Trump support and make polls understate Republican support. It's going to happen. I will show you. There's no way anyone can argue that it's not going to. These voters are the ones we're having a difficult time still. They were not doing that before. That was not the case. I actually argued that I think Trump's vote may be a little bit overstated, but why? Who was doing that? It's not who you might think, right? It's not. Trump was doing better with certain groups, and these people have like vanished into thin air now. So it's tough to reach them. Seniors, great example. I'm going to show you why polls are overstating her senior support. They did this in 2020 with Joe Biden. The final New York Times poll had Joe Biden leading Donald Trump with seniors 51-41. Biden plus 10. And their overall poll, by the way, was Biden plus 9. That didn't happen. Joe Biden lost seniors to Donald Trump. Why? Well, I alluded to it on Twitter a little bit. They're not I'll show you in a little bit, okay? We'll just keep that. Also, obviously, we have to talk about this interview, which I think I'm going to front load and we're going to do first. Kamala Harris gave her first interview. She decided to give it to Dana Bash at CNN. Okay. For those of you who don't know who Dana Bash is, I got to be honest, during the debate, it wasn't that bad of a job with CNN, Dana and Jake. It wasn't that bad of a job. Yes, they were leading Joe Biden by an attorney could lead their witness. But it wasn't so overtly, well, it is to me, because once you see it, you can't unsee it. But you know what I mean. It wasn't Candy Crowley rescuing Barack Obama. It wasn't Chris Wallace lying about the pandemic response. It wasn't Chris Wallace, by the way, who also helped Joe Biden lie about the administration's position on fracking. When they were running for the Democratic nomination, both of them, they supported a ban on fracking. When they were running for president, they argued they didn't. Sound familiar? Here we are again. I'm going to literally show you a clip of Kamala Harris doing the same thing. When they got in office, one of the first things they did was shut down the Keystone XL pipeline. Thousands of people lost their jobs in the state of Pennsylvania. When we play that clip, you'll see what Dana does. She kind of lays it up. Oh, why? Tell people why. They may be misunderstood about, and think you were flip-flopping when you're not flip-flopping. Tell people why. Dana, the correct way to format that question is you lied to the public about your agenda when it came to fossil fuels, and thousands of people lost their jobs over it. And now we're paying a ton more in gas because of your policy. Why would anyone but now believe your latest flip-flop? A journalist would say that. But Dana's not a journalist. She's married to, I'll be nice. She's fully immersed in the deep state world and the state-run media world. Fully immersed in it. She obviously wants Kamala Harris to win this election. It's very obvious. And yet, after all of this time to prepare, since she's been in this race a month, has not given a single interview, a single sit-down interview. She brings Stolen Valor Tim Walz with her and bombs the shit out of this interview. Listen, the only rabid partisans are going to claim that this interview came across well. This did not come across well. This was one of the worst interviews a presidential candidate is given as a sit-down interview before an election. I'm sorry, it is. She seemed very uncomfortable in her own skin. She slurred her words, and I'm not trying to add to a certain accusation that's out there that the media has decided it's their job to push back on. I'm not trying to add to that stereotype or that accusation, but she slurred her words. Multiple occasions she was slurring. She was struggling to find the words that were given to her clearly by consultants and pollsters who said, this is what people want to hear. And she was struggling to find those words and kept repeating the same nonsensical platitudes over and over again. And that's what it was. Every answer was a word salad, heavily sprinkled, or a word salad heavily, because somebody used dressing, Laura, like they dumped way too much dressing on the salad. That dressing was the platitude dressing. Okay. So It's like a word salad soaked in platitude dressing, and it just wasn't good. It came across as inauthentic to me. You have to reach a certain bar. To put people's minds at ease that you can do this job. The fake media persona that they created over the last month did not show up to this interview. The rallies portrayed a woman who maybe fit that persona. This was not. This was an insecurity that I think jumped through the camera, and it was inauthentic. You could tell that she was trying to verbatim, give the answers to the softball questions that she no doubt already knew was coming. CNN does not let a Democrat walk into an ambush interview. CNN is notorious for telling Democrats exactly what they're going to ask them. If you don't believe me, why don't you look up Donna Brazile giving Hillary Clinton the debate questions in 2016? And even worse than that, why don't you look up the DNC emails that were leaked by WikiLeaks, and you will see that Jake Tapper himself, Mr. Hard News flagship anchor boy over at CNN, constantly communicating with the Democratic National Committee and the Hillary Clinton campaign and asking, what do you want Jake to ask? Jake's interviewing Donald Trump and Ted Cruz today. What should we tell Jake to ask? That's CNN, folks. And by all measures, it hasn't gotten better over there. If anything, it's gotten worse. So she may have had a bullet point presentation of exactly what was going to be asked of her. I mean, honestly. And her consultants put it together, showed her exactly what they were going to get, exactly what she could expect, and yet she still bombed it. All right. So just to give credit where credit's due, because he pulled two of the clips I was going to pull anyway. Vigilant Fox did a thread on X about the interview, and I think he did a good job. These video clips pulled from his thread, all right? So you'll probably see me even just like backing up and going down his thread. Let's do it one by one here. It took no time at all, immediately, for her to go after Trump. And when it didn't, I think this is something Dana screwed her on. When oh my God, let me immediately pivot to Donald Trump, Orange Man, bad. Dana just kind of didn't let her do it. You know, like she went right back to questions for, I think they were intended to help Kamala, but she still didn't get it. Like it wasn't sinking in. So she pivoted her away from, don't talk about just Trump here. People don't want to hear about just Trump. I think it came from like that kind of place instead of a place of being an actual journalist. I think everyone understands that the Democratic nominee is not going to just get away with, oh, Trump's a bad guy. Why? Because the environment sucks. The economy sucks. Wage growth sucks. Inflation sucks. Nobody can buy a home. It sucks. Construction sucks. Manufacturing sucks because it's evaporating in our country. Job creation sucks. It's a lie. 1 million jobs since March, just fake. Fabrications is why I don't even believe the Bureau of Economic Analysis with those GDP numbers. I don't even believe them. I guarantee you 6 months from now, whether Trump wins or loses or Harris wins or loses, we're going to get the real numbers. It's a vanguard in this country. And people feel something very different from what the vanguard has been telling them. So it's not going to be good enough to do what Joe Biden did in 2020, which is Donald Trump is a bad guy. You better be a decent person and vote for me. That's what they did. That was their entire campaign message. Only a decent person would vote for me. Not an indecent person supports Donald Trump. So she tries to redirect her and it just doesn't go over well. Let's play.
The voters are really eager to hear what your plans are. If you are elected, what would you do on day one in the White House?
Well, there are a number of things. I will tell you, first and foremost, one of my highest priorities is to do what we can to support and strengthen the middle class. When I look at the aspirations, the goals, the ambitions of the American people.
Platitude alert.
I think that people are ready for a new way forward.
Word salad alert.
In a way that generations of Americans have been fueled by hope and by optimism.
Word salad and platitude alert.
I think sadly, in the last decade, we have had in the former president someone who has really been pushing an agenda and in an environment that is about diminishing the character and the strength of who we are as Americans.
Word salad, platitude, and orange man bad alert.
Really dividing our nation, and I think people are ready to turn the page on that.
Hillary Clinton alert. I mean, this is what the hell was that? What did she say? She didn't even answer the question. I think Americans are dying to know what you're going to do when you get in. America's just such a wonderful place, and the middle class, and a character of our nation, and we're super, super exceptional. And Donald Trump's a bad guy, man, and we're divided. And what the hell are you talking about? What do you plan on doing when you are president of the United States on day one? Same thing you've been doing for 4 years, right? Donald Trump is a great line, and he should stick with it. What are you talking about day one, Kamala? And you better say this during the debate, Trump, or you are negligent. Day one started for you 4 years ago. All of these problems today, you created. And I hate to say it, like I just told Peter Navarro on War Room, good old Pete. And by the way, forgot to say, if Steve was watching, you'll be home soon, brother. We all miss you. But anyway, and he might be, by the way, home before the election's up. So that would be their worst nightmare. But in any event, if he does not, hell has frozen over because I agree with Frank Lunch. If he does not turn to her during the debate and say, all of this started on day one with you. I gave you a pandemic in decline and an economy on the rise. You killed more people than me at the height of the pandemic, or not killed more people died under your administration as the pandemic was waning than under mine when it was on the rise, and you killed the economy. You came in office promising, I will shut down the virus, not the economy. You literally did the opposite. That's what the numbers show. You literally did the opposite. The pandemic actually got, as far as deaths, the death count, worse under them, and the economy went to shit. And it's been like that ever since. And Luntz, I gotta say this, is right. The only thing I disagree with him on is that he said, up until now, the messaging has been flawless. She hasn't been messaging. The media has been messaging. Don't give her or the campaign any credit. Kamala Harris cannot run a lemonade stand. She couldn't run her office in California. She could not run for Senate. She just ran in a D+35 state. But her campaign was a catastrophe. Then she goes to run for president with no actual achievements, not even a sponsored bill, until Jussie Smollett and the fake lynching, happened coincidentally at the day that she was pushing her anti-lynching bill. And then there's staffers that are being abused. I mean, it's true. It's just true. She runs for president. She gives her friend the job who has no experience. The campaign is a disaster. Politico somehow lost all the pages, Laura, of their previous reporting of how bad it is when Kamala Harris runs a campaign. They somehow lost all that. Yeah. Tulsi Gabbard killed her in the crib. She can't run the office of the vice president. In the first year that she was vice president, 90% turnover. Could you imagine that? Could you imagine if Mike Pence had a 90% turnover rate in the office of vice president? And now here we are. The media is running her campaign. She's not running diddly squat. Jack Shiat. There's no messaging at all. Oh, I'm not repeating that. The media is doing this for her. This is her. The consultants can get her through a rally and a speech. without any kind of pressure. And she's under enormous pressure, which is part of what happened here. Democrats are, regardless of what you see from fake modelers on X all day, Democrats are now starting to get incredibly terrified because they're starting to realize what I've been talking about for a month is in fact the reality. This not all of them. The pollsters who do the real work already knew it. I was right. They already knew I was right. Yep. This is a response bias, and I will show you again. And yet, still, Laura, she's where she's at in the raw data. Epic MRA poll out today, by the way. Oh, jeez. I can't repeat that either. Epic MRA poll out today. Never had Trump up against Hillary Clinton. Never had Trump up against Joe Biden. And yet, Trump is up over Kamala Harris in the state of Michigan. 1 point. Ironically, that's what her polling shows. Even the crappy morning consult polls, she somehow evaporated 10 points in like 2 weeks because it wasn't ever real to begin with. And they're under enormous stress, putting her under enormous pressure. This interview needed to go well. Mark Halpern explained this earlier this week. If I have time, I'll play that clip. And she effed it up, dude. Interviews aren't, and it's like DC think for you. Like, oh, we're going to give this really good interview and that's somehow going to give us a 10-point lead. Americans expect you to give a coherent and competent interview. You're not going to get brownie points over that, or like you're not going to get participation trophy for this shit. But it can hurt you if you're not seen as competent, confident, and with a clear vision for the future and their lives. So she needed to rise to this game. She felt the pressure and she collapsed. This is her, though. This is important. That's the real Kamala Harris. The Kamala Harris you've been hearing about for a month is a complete media fabrication. This is, in fact, the real Kamala Harris. Everyone knows it, except for the poor suckers at home who are being sold a line of bull. All right. I don't really know what else to tell people. That is 100% the truth. Let's go to the next clip in line. I'm sorry, it's just gonna auto play this video. Dana tries to redirect her here. All right, and it just doesn't go well. None of this goes well. Are you ready? We'll talk about it as it goes.
You talked about, you call it the opportunity economy. You are well aware that right now many Americans are struggling. There's a crisis of affordability.
Yeah. Well, who the hell is in charge right now? I mean,
one of your campaign themes is we're not going back.
Look at that smile. She's trying to give her a layup.
But I wonder what you say to voters who do want to go back when it comes to the economy specifically, because their groceries were less expensive. Housing was more affordable when Donald Trump was president.
It's unaffordable.
Well, let's start with the fact that when Joe Biden and I came in office, during the height of a pandemic, we saw...
Time out. This is what Frank Luntz is talking about. She's going to get hammered on this. Trump is going to hammer her on this. If this is what her consultants told her to say, she's going to get bludgeoned. I actually don't think Donald Trump should do the ABC News debate. I actually think that Donald Trump should use his power as the voice of the people and reform the debate process that does not serve the people. It serves corporate media, it serves big pharma, and all the other people who are going to sell you shit during the debate. All the other people who paid for the debate. They pay for the debate. And then you get to watch all these pills you're supposed to stuff down your throat. Like, this is not a process that is designed to benefit the entity in this country who's supposed to be the sovereign. You, me, the voter. And it's one of the most disappointing things when it comes to me. I'm talking about my personal opinion. One of the biggest disappointments I have with Donald Trump. He likes to go into the lion's den. Even Peter just told me this. You know the boss likes to go into the lion's den. Because obviously he's Peter's boss. He calls him the boss. Peter, that's not what it's about. That's not the point. fine, go into the lion's den for interviews. But for the love of God, turn this process, this debate process, into something better. Jim Lair's dead. And so is the spirit of Jim Lair. We haven't gotten a good debate in this country in at least 2.5 decades. I'm talking about one that really works for you guys. It's tragic, but it's true. Or a good presidential debate. I've seen some decent other like sideshows, but a presidential debate. And Trump's going to turn to her and say, whoa, what are you talking about? A height of the pandemic. You made it the height of the pandemic. The pandemic was waning. Infections, deaths, all on the way down. Breathing assistance cases, all on the way down. The economy, V-shaped recovery to include inflation. You didn't get it at the height of anything. You were handed a repairing situation and you broke it. That's what he's going to do. And people are going to go, you know what? I think you're right. Because they remember.
Over 10 million jobs were lost. People, I mean, literally.
That's true, except the first month of job creation after the shutdown ended. You can go look at it. This is obviously not my opinion. This is a fact. Construction, for instance. Half of the jobs that were lost during the shutdown were created the very first month of full job creation after the shutdown ended. So, like, the idea, and by the way, that's how Donald Trump beat Ronald Reagan's record for the most jobs posted, the largest gain in non-farm payroll since Ronald Reagan in the 80s. And back-to-back, by the way, did it back-to-back months because of how fast the jobs were being, I don't want to say recreated, recovered. Let's call it, I think recovered is the better way.
Literally, we were all tracking the numbers. Hundreds of people a day were dying because of COVID. The economy had crashed. In large part, all of that because of mismanagement by Donald Trump.
Okay, again, that's factually incorrect. All of that was over by the time they took the reins in January of 2021, and then it collapsed. That's what happened.
That crisis. When
by mid-21, I believe, they already had more deaths on the board than during the height of the pandemic.
We came in, our highest priority was to do what we could to rescue America. And today we know that we have inflation at under 3%. A lot of our policies have led to the reality that America recovered faster than any wealthy nation around.
You're talking about the rate of gain, the rate of increase with inflation, the rate of increase.
The world. But you are right.
Still increasing.
Prices, in particular for groceries, are still too high. The American people know it, I know it. Which is why my agenda includes what we need to do to bring down the price of groceries. For example, dealing with an issue like price gouging. What we need to do to extend the child tax credit to help young families be able to take care of their children in their most formative years.
Trump's policy, actually Ivanka's policy.
What we need to do to bring down the cost of housing. My proposal.
The cost of housing was just fine until the until the Biden-Harris administration. Trump handed Biden the highest builder confidence in the history of the index. The highest builder confidence in the history of the index. Did anybody see pending home sales earlier this week? Anybody? All of that, from the National Association of Realtors to the National Association of Home Builders to the Commerce Department's new residential construction statistics. All of it. V-shaped recovery handed the biggest period of optimism in the housing market since the Great Recession. In fact, until COVID came, that's what we were waiting for. That was the fourth cylinder to fire in the Trump economy. And it was starting to fire. Unfortunately, it died during this administration. Actually, it kind of died before they even took before they changed policy, not before they took office, because everything was still at heightened levels when they did take office. But like, people make decisions in this economy and any economy based on what they expect to be the future. And they were not optimistic about a Biden-Harris administration. So they adjusted accordingly. And unfortunately for us, it ended up with, I don't even know the percentage, but a huge chunk of the middle class being evaporated, a huge chunk of young people not even being able to buy homes, being priced out. If you don't have a 720 or higher credit score, they're not even going to talk to you anymore. It's tragic. Meanwhile, under Trump with a 650, you could get under a 3% APR.
Includes what would be a tax credit of $25,000 for first-time home buyers. So they can just have enough to put a down payment on a home, which is part of the American dream and their aspiration, but do it in a way that allows them to actually get on the path to achieving that goal and that dream.
So you talk
again, it is what it is. And that particular clip is the one where Frank Luntz is saying, that may be great if the consultants give you that to say. The problem is, someone like Trump is going to eat you alive when you're at a debate, because none of that is actually true. All right. So then we move on.
You were in Congress, you supported the Green New Deal. And in 2019, you said, quote, "There is no question I'm in favor of banning fracking."
Here we go. And here's the biggest problem that here's a big exposure when she gets to that debate stage. And if Trump doesn't deal with it and he acts like Trump during some of the other debates, then it would be his fault and he would, deserve to lose that debate. She cast the tie-breaking vote for the Inflation Reduction Act, which despite its name had absolutely nothing to do with reducing inflation. And they can claim that, but it did not. It was a Green New Deal scam. That was a kickback to all the people that supported them in 2020, and it was very much in line with the quote that Dana is about to read. By the way, it is widely believed that the Inflation Reduction Act was the last straw when it came to the spike in inflation. We did not have the money to print another massive spending bill, which is the Inflation Reduction Act. The bill, the CARES Act, for instance, and CARES Act 2, which is the disaster, we already didn't have the money for. The CARES Act was under Trump, though. My biggest opposition to something Trump did during his administration. But yet still the CPI did not skyrocket. I mean, we were dealing with that burden. It is widely believed that this one, almost as big as the CARES Act, was just the straw that broke the camel's back. And you think he's not going to bring that up? Like, you voted for the bill that caused this inflation. It was tied in the Senate. You came down from the executive building. You cast the tie-breaking vote because you're a greenie nutcase. And everyone is hurting at the grocery store and at the gas pump because you're a radical leftist nut job. And that's what he's going to say. And there's not going to be much that she could say about it, because guess what? It's true.
Fracking, as you know, is a pretty big issue, particularly in your must-win state of Pennsylvania.
Sure.
Do you still want to ban fracking?
No, and I made that clear on the debate stage in 2020 that I...
Paging the behavior panel, paging Scott, paging Greg at the behavior panel. That is textbook bullshit lying. Did you see how she moved her head and looked up like that? That is textbook. If you don't know who I'm talking about, you guys gotta watch it. It's fantastic. But I wish they would do one on this right now.
Would not ban fracking. As vice president, I did not ban fracking. As president, I will not ban fracking.
In 2019, I believe, at a town hall, you said you were asked, would you commit to implementing a federal ban on fracking on your first day in office? And you said, there's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking. So yes. So it changed in that campaign?
In 2020, I made very clear where I stand. We are in 2024, and
That's Ignis. She's dodging the question. This is where this inauthenticity problem comes along that I'm talking about. This is very inauthentic, and everyone's going to see this. You can't really hide. She just said the date in 2019. I mean, the insulting of voters' intelligence here is egregious. Everyone understands that in 2019, she was running for president. She lost that nomination to Joe Biden. She didn't even make it to Iowa. Everyone understands what Dana's trying to help her get over here. That you look like you were trying to win a primary and you told people the truth. And then when you ran for vice president, you both changed your positions and began to lie. Now, here we are again after you killed the Keystone Pipeline, and people need to be reassured that you're not going to go even further and ban fracking on the federal level. And guess what? She just refused to address it. It would have been better to have a mea culpa. People should take cues from Bill Clinton, where Bill Clinton would say, I was wrong before. I did. You're right. I did. And I have since reevaluated that position because my information has changed and my understanding of the issue has changed. I was wrong, Dana. That would go a long way. It's like politicians and these consultants are always adverse to telling the truth, folks. And I don't think they understand how much good it would do if they just simply said, I was wrong. The country repeatedly let Bill Clinton slide on things like that. And you know what? I think it's because Bill Clinton was being authentic. Because Bill Clinton never did pursue those things, did he? He killed his wife's attempt at Hillary Care, which is what it was called back then. He said, Hillary, enough. The country doesn't want it. It's over. I'm putting an end to it. So I feel like it worked so well for Bill Clinton on so many of these issues because he was honest. Because he was earnest is actually the better way to put it.
Not change that position, nor will I going forward. I kept my word and I will keep my word.
Position.
What made you change that position at the time?
I did not change my position. What made you change that position? You understand how bad this looks? This looks terrible.
Let's be clear. My values have not changed.
Here we go.
I believe it is very important that we take.
Just remembered what the consultants told her to say. See, she's struggling to find the words and to the answers that she was given. And she just remembered in that moment what she was told to say when Dana asked her this question. So now, why is it going to be the next 34 to 45 seconds going to be so awkward? Because she keeps repeating what they told her to say. Now that she remembered what she was supposed to say in the first part of that answer when Dana asked her before. And it will sound like it makes no sense. Why do you keep repeating yourself? Because she's in a hole. She's trying to dig herself out of a hole.
Seriously what we must do
Robotic.
To guard against what is a clear crisis in terms of the climate. And to do that, we can do what we have accomplished thus far. The Inflation Reduction Act, what we have done to invest, by my calculation, over probably $1 trillion over the next 10 years, investing in a clean energy economy. What we've already done, creating over 300,000 new clean energy jobs. That tells me, from my experience as vice president, we can do it without banning fracking. In fact, Dana, I cast the tie-breaking vote that actually increased leases for fracking.
Yeah.
That's not something you want to tout. That's the problem. That's not something you want to tout. And that is technically true that there are more federal leases, but who do they go to is the question. And why haven't they had any impact on the cost of natural gas in this country?
As vice president. So I'm very clear about where I stand.
And was there some policy or scientific data that you saw that you said, oh, okay, I get it now?
What I have seen.
She can't remember. Watch this. She cannot remember what she was supposed to say to that. And Dana laid it up for her. Kamala, wasn't there some time? Wasn't there some policy? Wasn't there some moment when you were, when you changed your mind? Remember? Wink, 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 wink. And she forgets. And that's why she goes to the drone and she goes to the, back to her drone Kamala mode and just repeats this phrase.
Saying is that we can grow and we can increase a thriving clean energy economy without banning fracking.
Okay.
That's it. Okay. That's it. Okay. I mean, that was not good. I cannot believe that there are people out there seriously going on TV and going to CNN and saying, oh, this was good. She did good. She rose to the occasion. She did good. Now we get to the issue of inflation, immigration. excuse me, which, of course, she was, whatever you want to call it, border czar. She was given authority to address the border crisis in this country, which of course deals with the asylum issue. And if all of a sudden now she's for these things, why did it take so long to make any to act on them, right? Why did you just do nothing while all of these people came here? And this is that exchange, okay?
Another issue, big one, is immigration. As Vice President, you were tasked with addressing the root causes of migration in southern countries.
Migration, illegal immigration. She was appointed as the border czar to stop illegal immigration, or to address the humanitarian and national security crisis at the southern border. And Dana phrases it as the migration issue, like the root causes of migration. Dana, whatever. This is not the same thing as migration. This was an invasion at the southern border, and she was supposed to stop it. Very different from migrating.
And
Northern part of Central America.
the northern part
Yeah.
of Central America that deals with,
Right.
that affects the southern border of the U.S. During the Biden-Harris administration, there were record numbers of illegal border crossings. Why did the Biden-Harris administration wait 3.5 years to implement sweeping asylum restrictions?
Well, first of all, the root causes work that I did as vice president, that I was asked to do by the president, has actually resulted in a number of benefits, including historic investments by American businesses in that region. The number of immigrants coming from that region has actually reduced.
That's not good. So basically, what that, for people like me who have been around a long time, and the voter at home probably will not get this, but what she really just admitted to was a quid pro quo. Okay. So people who gave to their campaign were invested in those areas. Donald Trump is right. They did not want those people there. So how could I put this? If there is a certain element within society of a country, you will not attract foreign investment until those elements are gone. Remember Cuba and the wave in the 80s? Obviously, the movie Scarface portrays, some of this, but these were not good elements within society. And Fidel Castro had to open up the jails and the prisons and the psych wards and the everything and get rid of these people in an attempt to attract foreign investment into the country. Those foreign investors, those companies, obviously support certain regimes, right? What she really just admitted to was allowing America to be invaded. So the people who wanted to make money in these countries that are clearly their benefactors, would have. It's the same thing that happened with Hillary Clinton. Muammar Gaddafi had to go so Sidney could get his hooks into Libya, and they could try to take over a lot of the natural resources in Libya. Well, they destroyed an entire country. They destabilized an entire country trying to do that, trying to pay back Hillary Clinton's benefactors, in which she intended to use their investment. She intended to use their money and their developing of the economy over there, so she can then claim that Libya was her crown jewel foreign policy achievement. So it's actually a lot more sinister than the news will ever tell you it is. Immigration is big business, and illegal immigration is big business. You have leftists on the legal aspect. There are entire lawyers who make this their career. There are coyotes who make this their career. They're actually hired by those lawyers, by the way, and I'm not kidding. And then there's the multinational corporations that once you get rid of these elements within that country, they will go and invest in various sectors of the economy in this country. It's very dark. Who suffers for it? The young girls that get raped along the way. That's who suffer for it. I I don't know why she just popped in my head, but obviously I remember during the Trump administration when they were trying to crack down on some of this stuff, I was speaking to a special agent at the Department of Homeland Security, and they were trying to find a girl who was lost along the way with this coyote, and the family didn't know where she was. They found her all right. They found her floating in the Everglades, and she was sexually assaulted and thrown in the swamp, like discarded like a piece of fucking trash. And that's the very real impact. That's the very real result. That's the very real casualty of this disgusting economy, this dark economy that she's describing right now. And she's proud of it.
Since we began that work. But I will say this, that Joe Biden and I and our administration worked with members of the United States Congress on an immigration issue that is very significant to the American people and to our security, which is.
All right, let me just stop right there. A real journalist would have taken this opportunity to ask her, speaking of Joe Biden, why did you go along with the scam hiding Joe Biden's mental capacity from the people of this country? Joe Biden and her didn't work on anything together because Joe Biden has been senile since the day he was elected. Joe Biden had, since the very first day he was in office, signed executive orders that he had no idea what they did. They put things in front of him, told him to sign, and he went and changed his depends, and that was it. Joe Biden has done nothing. So, I mean, it just bothers me that this is why she didn't do this interview with Fox. Because Harris Faulkner, who else could we bring up? Various people Brett Baer, would have brought this up. Even though it is Fox News and they, of course, still want Harris to win, they would have brought that up. That unfortunately slides here.
Which is the border. And through bipartisan work, including some of the most conservative members of the United States Congress, a bill was crafted, which we supported, which I support. And Donald Trump got word of this bill that would have contributed to securing our border. And because he believes that it would not have helped him politically, he told his folks in Congress, don't put it forward. He killed the bill. A border security bill that would have put 1,500 more agents on the border. And let me tell you something, the Border Patrol endorsed the bill. And I'm sure in large part because they knew they were working around the clock.
The government element of the Border Patrol did, in fact, endorse the bill. The Border Patrol Union did not. And the Border Patrol Union has been more bullish on efforts to secure the border. They, in fact, support Donald Trump, in fact. The bill would not have addressed the root causes of illegal immigration. It would not have stemmed the flow. It would not have dealt with the people that were here in a way that that Americans believe it's fair to deal with them. It would have, in fact, made it worse. Anytime you give people a pass, folks, you're incentivizing others to also do the wrong thing. Because if they're going to deal with basically a lecturing, right? But yet it's just a lecture. At the end of the day, you're going to get what you intended. You're going to get what you wanted. Anytime you do that with people, they take advantage and they're incentivized to do the wrong thing because, it's not really going to result in any serious consequences. There would not have been a success like the policy that Trump not only advocates for, but he did do it as president. Remain in Mexico, for instance. There's just none of that. It would not have. It's not that kind of a bill. It's not. It's your textbook Washington, D.C. BS bipartisan so-called immigration reform bill that really would not have done nothing. In fact is, by the way, and it's true even of Trump, nobody's really talking about the real root causes of the real problem. The biggest issue with the numbers is the chain. That is the issue. Because once they come here and do it, and they get away with it, which they would have under this bill, anybody who's like a second cousin, somehow related, right or wrong, real or not, vetted or not, the chain opens up for them, and then they bring everybody and their mother over with them and pretend like it's their like closest family or something. That's the real problem that has to be dealt with first. But unfortunately, nobody's even talked about that or attempted to address it since David Perdue and Tom Cotton talked about the Raise Act when Trump was president. That's the last real attempt I've ever heard of, or proposal to deal with the chain in a way that would have been effective.
1,500 more agents would help them. That bill would have allowed us to increase seizures of fentanyl. Ask any community in America that has been devastated by fentanyl what passing that bill would have done to address their concern and a pain that they've experienced.
It actually would not have stemmed the tide of fentanyl at all. And in fact, the amount of fentanyl that has come over since Biden and Harris have taken over has been just so far and beyond what came over in the Trump administration. The seizures of fentanyl went through the roof under Trump. He gave them new a bunch of high-tech stuff. We got a tour, actually. It was really cool. There's these machines that they use to identify different substances, and it's not just what is smuggled over the border, in between points of entry, but what people actually try to smuggle through points of entry. And what the hell is the name of that thing? I always forget the name of that thing is, but anyway, he outfitted every point of entry with those. So fentanyl seizures went to the moon, and that's true because in response, Biden was once asked the question about this, and he literally said that the fentanyl that's killing people on the streets today is the fentanyl that came over under Donald Trump yesterday. That's totally false. I mean, this stuff is brought in steadily. The stuff that was brought in and did make its way into the country under Donald Trump is already in people's veins and out. I mean, this is it's so disgusting. We can't have an honest conversation about this because it's killing people. We have she's actually an elected official, but also a friend and a community member over here. Last Christmas, her 19-year-old son thought he was taking a Percocet with his friends and dropped dead. I mean, he had his whole life ahead of him. It's not only getting worse, but it's getting more sophisticated, and we just play politics with it. It's horrible.
So you would push that legislation again. I just want to ask
about push it. I will make sure that it comes to my desk and I would sign it.
Well, why won't you make sure it gets to Biden's desk right now? I mean, isn't this ultimately the problem with everything that she's saying? Why won't you do it right now? You're the vice president of the United States. The president's senile. You obviously have more power than people thought. You, with the help of Barack Obama, successfully engaged in a coup, although you backstabbed Barack Obama at the end, which is hilarious. Like, why won't you do it now? I don't understand. All right, it's 12:53. We got to kind of wrap this up. Where's that last one? Here is where Dana Bash is the one where Dana Bash asks her about the war and Biden's cognitive decline. Where's the war one? Here's where Tim Walz is forced to address his stolen valor issues. And not ironically, I mean, expectedly, Dana helps him do that. So let's go back and do that right now.
Governor Walz, the country is just starting to get to know you. I want to ask you a question about how you've described your service in the National Guard. You said that you carried weapons in war, but you have never deployed actually in a war zone. A campaign official said that you misspoke. Did you?
Well, first of all, I'm incredibly proud. I've done 24 years of wearing the uniform of this country. Equally proud of my service in a public school classroom, whether it's Congress or the governor. My record speaks for itself, but I think people are coming to get to know me. I speak like they do. I speak candidly. I wear my emotions on my sleeves, and I speak especially passionately about our children being shot in schools and around guns. So I think.
Okay, so you're wearing your emotion on your sleeve and you steal valor? This is a clear-cut case of stolen valor. It's not just that one video clip that's circulating, and the Kamala Harris campaign found several more when they were vetting Tim Walz that are on various Facebook pages of people who have attended his events. That was a cookie cutter speech. It was written. It may sound like it's delivered with emotion and in the heat of the moment, but it is not. It is a line that he delivered on multiple occasions. Nancy Pelosi, when they were in Congress together and they were discussing the Iraq resolution, This is years ago, folks, when George Bush is still president. All right. Or no, is it 07? I'd have to go back and see when he was first in. I think it was. But in any event, years ago. And Democrats, I think it was when Democrats took over the House. I think it is. And it, basically introduces him as somebody who knows full well what it's like to deal with PTSD and knows full well what it's like to, the burden, the weight of making the decision to send people to war because he has been in a war himself. I mean, this is a clear-cut case of stolen valor. It's not you were emotional, right? David Giglio said, I'm sorry, it was just a grammar issue. I was never an astronaut. Like I feel the need to clarify something. I'm sorry, I have bad grammar. I was never really an astronaut. This doesn't cut it. This just simply doesn't cut it. So people who, again, what you just should have apologized. I'm sorry for misleading people. But the problem is when you admit that you are guilty of stolen valor, it's disqualifying. You're done. You're done. And so they're just trying, with the help of the media like Dana over at CNN and the rest of her network and everyone else, they're trying to just cover up and just hide it from the American public.
People know me. They know who I am. They know where
But they don't.
where my heart is. And again,
But
my
they
record
don't.
has been out there for over 40 years to speak for itself.
Actually, that is true. When he was running for governor, they did in fact find this. They buried it. There was a local media outlet that tackled it. They even conducted interviews with people he served with. They conducted an interview with the man who took over for him in his unit because he left his men before they were deployed. They went into a combat zone. He did not. The largest media outlets in Minnesota buried it. They hid it. So the record has not been out there.
And the idea that you said that you were in
we go.
war,
Yeah.
did you misspeak as the campaign has said?
Yeah, I said we were talking about, in this case, this was after a school shooting, the ideas of carrying these weapons of war. And my wife, the English teacher, told me my grammar is not always correct. But again, if it's not this, it's
That's grammar? That's a grammar issue? You said you carried weapons in war. That is not a grammatical issue. That is you being full of shit and stealing valor. That's what that is. From the very men that you abandoned. And don't give me the whataboutisms to the Democrats and the leftists out there who are listening right now. Oh, Trump dodged the draft. Trump not going to war and getting some medical thing as an excuse for him not to go to Vietnam is more honorable than what this guy did. Trump never claimed that he was drafted and went to Vietnam. It is far more dishonorable to be there and then abandon your men. And then, by the way, when you decide to have a political career, steal their valor. This is basically the most dishonorable thing any service member can do. And every veteran out there knows it. And then he's been parading around Minnesota with the Special Forces insignia on his hats, on his shirts. You don't wear the patch of another unit. Any veterans right now in the comment section, feel free to chime in. You never wear the patch of another unit, but it tells any veteran out there exactly if you're on the fence about whether this is stolen valor, the mere fact that he's doing that, forget it. This is a pattern of behavior. He pretends to be something he's not. He pretends to have valor he doesn't. You don't walk around with Dio Presa Libre when you didn't earn it. At baseball games with other Democratic governors. At a gathering of farmers in Minnesota where he goes to give a speech. I gave him the benefit of the doubt. When I saw several of those pictures, I said, look, hey, was there a special forces unit there that maybe he was trying to honor? Even though that is still not a good enough excuse. I mean, if you're one of Barack Obama's Navy corpsmen, do you run around? Yes, corpsman. He said that. Do you run around with anything on your hat, on your shirt, or your anything indicating or giving the false impression that you've been through buds? If you worked in S2, do you have a patch on your arm? A Ranger patch? You walking around with the Tower of Power? No. You ever go to a VFW with a unit patch on a hat or a shirt? Could you imagine somebody walking into a VFW, vets out there, fellow vets out there? Could you imagine anybody walking into a VFW with a Green Beret insignia, Special Forces unit on their arm, on their shirt, on their hat, and not being a member of that unit? Maybe the average person who's not a veteran out there doesn't understand how disgraceful that is, but you don't do that stuff. Every veteran understands you don't do that. You don't wear the patch of another unit. You don't wear a blue cord if you didn't earn it. You don't wear an expert infantry patch if you didn't win it, if you didn't earn it. And you sure as hell do not put De Oppresso Libia on your hat or on your shirt or on anything if you did not earn it. Grammar. I'm sorry. If a Republican did this, I'd fillet them too, so I don't want to hear anybody. You do not do this. This is who he is.
An attack on my children for showing love for me, or it's an attack on my dog. I'm not.
Oh my God, bro, you yanked your mentally challenged kid on the stage like he was a dog. Let's get real here. And this is why the Ann Coulters of the world, they have such big mouths. They speak before they know what the hell they're talking about. Her stupid reaction, unfortunately, is going to allow him to get away with this. The real issue was not the fact that he brought his son on the stage. That's outrageous. The real issue is how he did it. But we won't be talking about that because of right-wingers who can't shut their mouths for 2 seconds and let Democrats bury themselves.
Going to do that. And the one thing I'll never do is I'll never demean another member's service in any way. I never have.
Oh
and I never
my
will.
God. But you are demeaning their service. You are. When you steal their valor or when you put the patch and the insignia of another unit on your person, you are demeaning their service. You didn't get through selection, buddy. You didn't go through the Q course, pal. You didn't do that. You are demeaning the service of those who did. You're not an 18 Bravo. You're not an 18 Charlie. You're not an 18 Delta. You're not an 18 Echo. Not a Foxtrot. You're not even an X-ray. You're an 18 asshole who pretends to be somebody who's not. Gotta be kidding me. I never demean anybody's service. He turns it into somebody else's fault. He's a victim here. He's a victim. He pretends to be a Green Beret. He pretends to be a combat veteran, and he's the victim. Holy crap. All right, now let's get back to her gaslighting the public on Biden's cognitive decline. I'm going to tell you why she asked her this question, not because she's a journalist. They're attempting to smooth it over the same way they're attempting to smooth over her failure as the borders are to stem the immigration crisis, because these are her two greatest vulnerabilities in the polling. Few in the beginning of this thing could identify that she even was the borders are. 36% in our polling. That's it. The other major vulnerability was that Americans feel like it is impossible that Kamala Harris was not aware that Joe Biden was senile. And they feel she lied to them. For what reasons? I don't know. Maybe because she intended to use being a running mate as a senile old white guy to get to be president. Because she could not earn it herself. So now she will do it this way instead and hope the media helps her steal it. Am I wrong? Am I wrong? I'm not wrong. So they try to smooth it over, and this was honestly, I think that it wasn't handled that badly just because she's in such a friendly environment, but it still wasn't great. And taken with the totality of the entire interview, I think this was a disaster for Kamala Harris, folks. I do. This is, and we're going to hear the truth soon. Okay? The David Axelrods are going to start to lob, some candid comments. Already, you have people like Frank Luntz, who's not exactly a Trumper. This is not the interview he was hoping for. All right. The Mark Halperns, who aren't in the cool club anymore because they're too busy telling the truth. You're going to hear that from them real soon too. In fact, don't I have a clip? I don't know if Yad's watching. Don't I have a clip of Mark Halpern with others? Yes, I do. Ooh, how do I download this puppy? Hold on one second. Okay. Oh, there he is. He's like, oh, should I even say it? I don't know if there's a way that I can. How the hell do you download this? Man, I really want to show this to you guys. It's a great clip. I don't know how I can download it at the moment. I think perhaps, yeah, I'll do it during a commercial break. I will try to do that and give this as a way to I guess I could copy it. Let me see. If I copy it, can I just straight paste it on the desktop? Yup. Yeah, Laura thought that was, you thought that was fun. Yup. Okay. So I will be able to show this. I know I'm leaving you guys with the breathless view of Kamala Harris right now. Okay. I actually do have a clip from Mark's show, and I'm gonna play it very shortly, and we'll see what he thinks. But I think soon we're gonna start to get his one-on-ones with his viewers, because he knows from the people he's been speaking with, they really, really felt like she needed to hit this out of the park. She needed this to be a home run because the polling is already starting to look it's starting to look like she is going to very soon be at the same place that Biden was pre-debate, which is a loss. All right. It's a loss. The Quinnipiac poll has her up by 1 point. That's it. The Wall Street Journal poll has her up by 1 point. There's a Trump +1 out there. Post-debate. The Morning Consult poll, which is as friendly as it can get for her, is just Harris +3 or 4, but it didn't move since the convention. So there's a great fear out there that this is going to be no different, than when Biden was losing. So anyway, let's finish playing this. Let's wrap this up. It's about Biden's cognitive decline. We'll play one clip from Mark Halpern's Zoom podcast show, which is actually really cool, guys, if you haven't checked it out. And then we will go over the polling after the break.
You were a very staunch defender of President Biden's capacity to serve another 4 years. Right after the debate, you insisted that President Biden is extraordinarily strong.
Bullshit! She threatened him with the 25th Amendment. What are you talking about? She led the coup. What are you talking about? Oh my God. America, I just feel so bad for you because everything you hear is a lie. She was cutthroat. She was about to slice that old white guy's throat and throw his dead body in a gutter. Are you kidding me? Holy crap. Oh, look at her face too. She knows it's bullshit. It's so funny. Oh my God.
Given where we are now, do you have any regrets about what you told the American people?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Look where I am.
I have served with President Biden for almost 4 years now, and I'll tell you, it's one of the greatest honors of my career, truly. He cares so deeply about the American people. He is so smart and loyal to the American people. And I have spent hours upon hours with him, be it in the Oval Office or the Situation Room. He has the intelligence, the commitment, and the judgment and disposition that I think the American people rightly deserve in their president.
Okay. let's get real for a second. Is anyone going to believe this? They just watched this guy act like a hospice patient in the middle of a friggin' presidential debate. The news reports are out there. She threatened him with the 25th Amendment. Is the disposition, Laura?
By contrast, the former president has none of that. And so, one, I am so proud to have served as vice president to Joe Biden. And two, I am so proud to be running with Tim Walz.
Yeah, boom, 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 boom. There it is. Not to get too deep here in Freudian. She's not proud to have served with Joe Biden. She's happy she used him to get to be president. She exploited a senile old man, and she's proud of that because she's going to get to be what she always wanted to be, the president in her mind. And immediately pivots to now. Forget about Joe Biden, man. Come on, man. Holy crap.
For president of the United States and to bring America what I believe the American people deserve, which is a new way forward, and turn the page on the last decade of what I believe has been contrary to where the spirit of our country really lies.
How would she know where the spirit of our country lies? She grew up in Canada. I'm sorry, Robert Barnes is right about that. How would she know that? She grew up in Canada and then lived in California. It's like the two most anti-flyover experiences you could ever have in your entire life. She has literally no connection to the Southern Black experience, to the Midwestern experience, to the Appalachian experience, to the mountain range experience. Like nothing. Like that is the most opposite experience. Joe, I hope you at least got willied for your trouble. Oh my God, I can't believe the People's Pundit said that. Joe, I hope you at least got willied when Joe wasn't looking for your trouble. You're going down as the biggest cuck ever in the history of the presidency. You got the equivalent of being cucked as a president. You did, bro. They used you, including your own wife. Obama, Harris, your own wife. They used you. You played the sucker. You've been walking around the White House shitting your pants in the middle of the night for 3 years, signing everything they asked you to sign. I don't know if you're even competent or coherent or like, you know, to understand what I'm saying right now, bro. But like, do you understand what history is going to write about you? President Cockboy, removed from office, removed from from your own nomination, which you actually earned this time. Well, I guess you could say you earned it. If by earn it, it means you made sure nobody else could run against you of any real significant threat. I mean, all presidents do that, let's face it. Or at least try to minimize their competition because of the Carter experience with the last Kennedy who did that. And then they're just going to take it right from you, dude. They already did. They already did. Your legacy is going to be the biggest joke. Carve his face on Mount Rushmore. They're going to wipe their butts with your legacy the minute you're out of that White House, bro. You're going to be a total afterthought. Scranton Joe, no more. President Cuckboy. Oh my God, dude.
Like the last decade.
Got bent over and so hard. Oh man. What a tragic end to the, I mean, but an appropriate one, I guess, to the political horror story of the 20th century. Oh my God.
of course, the last 3.5 years has been part of your administration.
I'm talking about an era that started about it.
You idiot! The last 10 years. It's time to turn the page. Kamala, the last 4 years have been you. I'm talking about an era. Dana, excuse me, Dana. You moron. We're doomed. Let me ask you a question, fellas and ladies out there. They lose this one in November, right? What on earth are they going to do to us? I'm serious. What's next? No more Russia hoaxes. I mean, you got to rival that. You've already unleashed a deadly pathogen on us. What else are you going to do? You took a shot and tried to kill the guy. I mean, you imprisoned his supporters. Folks, I think it's like, because the polling is not looking great now for her. Like, she needed a 10-point bounce on the way out of this thing. Everybody knows that. All right. Everyone who, whose opinions really matter to them agrees with me. So, like, what are they gonna do? The next, like, what do we got here? The next 8 weeks, I mean, bombs are gonna be flying here, folks. This is gonna be bad. And then if they lose, what are they gonna do? Oh my God, what are they gonna do? Look at who they're and what, like, I believe, like, the chances of them self-reflecting and saying, maybe we need to stop trying to run major gaslight campaigns against the American public. Like, if it doesn't work, because it can work, I'm not going to lie to you, it can work. But if it doesn't work and it doesn't look good, I mean, the polling I'm going to show you in a second, like, these samples can't be any more favorable to her, and you're running even with the guy. I mean, I mean, they're running within, statistically, they've been, since the beginning of the convention, I'm just going to tell you guys right now, they've been running like within 2 points of each other. Trump up 2, her up 2. Trump up 2, her up 2. It may even be 1 right now. I'd have to look, but I'm talking about raw, filled with response bias issues. And we're going to look at black voters in a second because I really think it's important. But, I mean, if you're not going to get any bigger of a bounce, there wasn't even a bounce. It wasn't. What's this polling going to look like in mid-September? What's the polling going to look like by Halloween? Tell me. Or what's the real environment going to look like by Halloween, right before the election? Not even. I don't even think it's going to take that long. I really don't. I don't think it's going to take that long. She does better with the full ballot, but guess what? Most of those people won't be on the ballot. And this is why you'll see. This is why they're trying to remove Cornell in some states, keep him on in others, keep on Kennedy in some states, remove him in others. You'll see. It's a very complicated situation. But the fact of the matter is, they're looking at this thing like, we need 2 points. We need to find 2 points somewhere, 2 to 3 points. We need, or 2 to 5 points, actually. 5 would be more comfortable for them because they know what polling errors are going to, how badly they understate Trump's support. They're not, they may tell you something publicly, but privately, they know that. What on earth are they going to do, folks? Kind of terrifying if you think about it. Think about everything they have done. Instead of just admitted, maybe we're not sensitive to the needs of the American public, and maybe we have not governed effectively. I mean, do we really want to be in a situation like Europe, where they just continuously govern for a very small slice of the electorate, or, which is in line with the ruling class? And then when the masses rise up, they just put them down. Is this where we really want to be? Are they completely rig the system? They'll cancel an election. They'll pull a Macron or something. Like, is this where we want to be as a country? Because I don't know what's next other than them attempting to stop elections and just cancel elections. They did that here, folks. You understand what they did? They voided an election. This is like terrifying. And more terrifying is it doesn't appear the people whose vote they threw in the, they don't even seem to care. Scary.
Decade ago, where there is some suggestion,
A decade ago.
warped, I believe it to be, that the measure of the strength of a leader is based on who you beat down, instead of where I believe most Americans are, which is to believe that the true measure of the strength of a leader is based on who you lift up. That's what's at stake as much as any other detail
That
that we
a
can discuss
can
in this
line,
election.
very clearly. That was a can line very clearly. Dana gave her that question and she gave her that layup so she could deliver that line, and she did. All right, when we come back, we'll watch the Mark Halpern thing, then we'll look at the we'll look at the polling. I really want to show you these groups that we've been talking about. But also I want to take a second to look at black voters specifically, because we have spoken to thousands of black voters since the convention, and I'm stunned by how but of all these groups that we are seeing response biases from, at least this time, we're not seeing that. Although they are throwing signals from the bias indicators, they're not like certain groups aren't just like completely missing. Black voters are actually highly more likely to take surveys than they were. We're still at that 17% more likely number. It's identical to what it was in the first poll that we conducted after this little switcheroo was made. And I can show you, black voters repeatedly on a daily basis make up nearly 4 or 5% more of the sample than they should. And that goes to tell you where they're at. White voters, they're the ones who are throwing high levels of social bias and also are running behind on participation rates. And shockingly, and not shockingly, I would say there's a correlation. And this is why we are seeing Harris doing better with certain white voters than she actually is going to do. She's not going to do that well with white seniors, and I'll show you why in a bit. But let's take a break. All right, look, folks, with everything that's going on in the world, there is no surprise that people are looking for safe haven investments, places to diversify and protect their wealth. We just heard a brilliant person on inflation, right? Well, she cast the tie-breaking vote that sent this thing into a skyrocket. The Fed right now talking about reducing rates, and yet they're what? Buying up gold. All right. That's why I want to talk to you about our friends at Freedom Gold USA, who we had on earlier this week, actually, to discuss some of these economic things and the deal that they're offering the listeners of the show. If you do, call up Freedom Gold and end up investing in gold and purchasing and protecting some of your wealth. They will, first of all, one, reduce the minimum commitment, which is normally 50 grand, no 20 grand, depending on who you go to, 10 grand. Even at Freedom Gold, it's 5, but they've reduced it for you guys to 500, and we'll throw you in a prize pool, and someone's going to win some free silver. We got 2 winners in the last 2 months. They were read their names aloud on Wednesday. That was very exciting for me. And you guys have packages of free silver headed toward you right now. Awesome. And again, what I love about Freedom Gold, Brian, all of them over there, they really are about just helping you make the right decision and giving you enough information to make you confident in doing so. All right. So give them a call. No pushy sales tactics allowed. 888-279-3592. That's 888-279-3592. You open a new gold or silver IRA, you get $500 credit towards, really, it's $500 in free silver that goes towards it. It's incredible. They have such great deals. You can go to their website too. Check out what other deals you may qualify for. freedomgoldusa.com/rich. freedomgoldusa.com/rich. So go ahead and give them a call today, folks. Even though that's our personal number over there, they'll know that you're calling from the People's Pundit Show. It is always great when you say, hey, the People's Pundit sent me. One more time, 888-279-3592. 888-279-3592, which reminds me again, Laura, you might as well just call right now if you're done grabbing questions and take the new deal that's coming. And these guys have been so generous with our listeners. We love them, and they're great. They're great. I've been around a lot of brokerage firms, folks. These guys are good peeps. They're good people. All right. I was sent this clip by somebody. I'm going to go ahead and play it. Speaking of Mark Halper. All right. I'm going to add it. Once I do, it'll start playing. This is them reacting to this interview while I pull up the polling data, listen and enjoy. And I'm going to take a break and a sip of water.
The interview, please.
Hello, my name is Iyad. In Roslyn, Virginia right now, originally from Long Island, but I'm supporting President Trump. I thought if she did make news, it was that she basically admitted that the Inflation Expansion Act, deceptively named the Inflation Reduction Act, was actually a backdoor to the Green New Deal that gives the president.
Yo, 100% nailed it. I mean, they're trying to combat this message from the Trump campaign that the Inflation Reduction Act is a scam. It, in fact, caused skyrocketing inflation and was nothing but a Green New Deal underhanded push. She admitted it. Apparently, I'm not the only one who noticed.
Trump's campaign something new to attack her on.
Yeah,
It's been something that the Biden-Harris administration has been trying to hide for the 3.5 years that they've been in office. And this is further proof that the whole presidential, their whole ticket since 2020 has been driven by the Sanders wing that lost out in the primaries. Even though it was Biden-Harris in the ticket, it was really run by Bernie Sanders and his progressive wing.
Okay, thank you, sir.
So basically, what he's saying is, you just gave them an ad. Oh, and by the way, you gave them an "I told you so" moment. Do we forget the moment in Erie County, Pennsylvania, when he put them on the Teletron? The media is telling you that they don't oppose fracking and that they will be positive to the fossil fuel industry. Here they are, boom, on the Teletron. Media's lying to you. Unfortunately, it wasn't as effective. It just wasn't. Because we polled the people in the state of Pennsylvania. We polled the people in the state of Michigan. We asked them, do you believe them? They did not think the Keystone Pipeline was going to be dismantled. They thought it was a campaign fear tactic used by the Trump campaign. They believed the media. They did. They believed the media. They also believed that Biden would be the one who did not start new wars. There are 2 new wars under Joe Biden and 1 botched withdrawal that killed 13 U.S. service members. By the way, Trump was with the parents and families, members of those 13 service members earlier this week. Do you know what they told Donald Trump? Can you please let us be present when you fire all of these military advisors for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris? They were not being vindictive. They asked him in a moment of, I don't know if it's humanity. I don't know what to say. Like, they just looked at him and said, can we please be there? The media is like the biggest negative influence in our society. They are. They are. It's not even close. Nobody is doing and has done more damage to our political discourse, or even our policy, because ultimately, if they're lying about what politicians are going to do when they get in and then they do something the public doesn't want or that is not good, it's ideologically driven, but it is not driven by sound economic advice or sound economic policy, you're going to hurt people. And it's the media's job to literally hide from the people that they're going to be hurt by these folks. And that's what happened to the poor bastards who worked at the Keystone Pipeline. And so many others. Detroit, you're next. You're next. Are there any more people in Ukraine they can kill? Is there some segment of the Ukrainian population they have not bled dry? They funded Iran. Will there be more Israeli women raped and children killed in a second administration? I don't remember anything like that happening under Donald Trump. Do you? I'm serious. I mean, it's not advocacy, is it? No. All right. So as you can see, this is August 29th. That's the quota from the 29th. All right. As you can see, we are talking to a lot of people. I showed you what the quota was from the 24th to the 29th, and now you can see the 29th. So as you can see, we are speaking to a lot of people. And by the way, this is just one mode. However, the phone component, and by phone, there are several. And this is getting crazy. I mean, it's like, I in my head, I'm trying to think of like old seniors interacting with an agent through text message, but they're doing it. Although they prefer you just give them the online link so they can do it on their own, because it can take them some time to go through the survey. We try to make sure that it is as legible as possible. And of course, the agent is there to assist if they need help or don't understand or can't see. So in any event, I'm glad that's true and that's the case, because as you can clearly see, there are several groups of people that we are having a hard time making those quotas. Men between the ages specifically of 50 and 64. Why is that a big deal? That's a very Trumpy demographic. You guys can all see this, correct? And this is just one particular quota group. Age 65. You may notice that we have ages in a very detailed breakdown. And that is because below 35 is not good enough. That is because 65 plus is not good enough. There has been this recent attention to something that I have been arguing for a long time. Can we really trust the polls when it comes to this idea that Democrats, against Trump especially, are doing better with seniors? There is no doubt that Joe Biden performed well among seniors for a Democrat, much better than most Democrats, certainly much better than Democratic presidential candidates in recent past. Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, et cetera, especially white seniors. Joe Biden had an appeal that the others don't have. There's an argument Kamala Harris is also doing well, and I'm telling you that is bullshit. Kamala Harris will do worse among white seniors than Joe Biden. That is going to happen. Who's telling you otherwise? The New York Times poll? Funny you bring that up. The New York Times poll was Biden plus 10 in 2020, 51-41. Biden overwhelmingly lost the senior vote to Donald Trump. Okay? They also had whites within 6, which I know how it's happening. I see it myself. It looks closer with whites in our polling. It's not going to be. So I will have to, unfortunately, well, it costs more money. We're going to have to, and if you were listening to the show on Wednesday, you'll know the difference between just setting top line quotas and those that are, much more detailed, granular, stratified, right? It costs more money and it takes more time. Media polls aren't going to do that. Why? Because 1, they're cheap. 2, they don't care. They're going to exploit the response bias and make it look like their candidate's doing better than they really are. All right. You may notice that we break down 65 to 74 and 75 plus. This age group, okay, is in fact more Democratic than it was in, say, 2012. However, they are also the ones causing the response bias with seniors that make it look like Democrats are going to win the senior vote. They are too much of the 65 plus sample. If, for instance, let's say 65 plus is around 24% of the electorate, then 65 to 74 should be 20 12, 14, maybe. That's high end. The 75 plus should be between 10 and 12%. They are very Trumpy. They also happen to be much more difficult to reach. So if you just set, and it's a great example to prove what Mark Harris was saying, or demonstrate what Mark Harris was saying. If you just set a quota for 65 plus, and then all these 65 to 74s fill in, and they're certainly going to be more educated than normal 65 to 75-year-old age group is, and they're going to be more metro than they are. They're going to be the most willing participants of a poll, and they will be more Democratic leaning than the overall 65 plus. Why? Because the quota will be filled before you get a chance to fill the 75 plus or adequately represent what we call super seniors. There is a radically different voter preference for these two groups. Today's 65 to 74 were yesterday's Democratic 50 to 64. Just as today's 50 to 64 were yesterday's more Republican 40 to 49. Now, this age group is particularly more Republican than it used to be. Oh, by the way, falling behind on its quota. What does this mean? It means we estimate that we need 53 more interviews with men between the age of 50 and 64 in order to properly, adequately, accurately represent the electorate. You may notice that literally every quota that is trailing is male. They may be from different areas. They may be from different regions. They may be from different divisions. But every quota is male. Why is this a problem? Well, let's see. The 12 that we think we're falling shy in New England may more adequately represent how certain votes are going to go in Maine or New Hampshire. And it may look like that is just, and New England is liberal, don't get me wrong, but Trump is definitely out and out performer in certain areas of New England. He has in the past and he will be again. In the Pacific region, for instance, in the mountain region, it may look like Arizona is going to be more Democratic than it is, and it's not. This is a daily basis. It isn't as bad as it was even on the 24th, which is something I showed you the other day, just on Wednesday. You remember? It wasn't that bad. It's getting better. It's still bad. Which brings us to the bias indicators before we jump to your questions. All right. And then I want to show you black. Let's start with the black vote, and then we'll get to the bias indicators. All right. So immediately, I thought to myself, perhaps my black sample, my black subgroup. Hold on. I don't want to stain my mouth, Laura, with the Powerade red, like our kids do when they drink. And they have like upper red lips. It's cute. It won't be cute on me on camera, so I don't want to do it. At first, I thought perhaps it's too male and perhaps it's too young because Trump is doing particularly well with black voters still. But as you can see, it's not. It's almost identical to what the electorate is gender-wise among African American and black voters. It's 46.6% male, 53.4% female. Almost identical. So why? Why do I care? Let's get up. Let's get up. Let's get up. Again, just black voters. All right. That's the deciding. Okay. Here is the head-to-head without giving a third-party option. And this is why you can see Kamala wants to keep Kennedy on the ballot. As we told you. Watch the change. If the 2024 U.S. presidential election were held today, for whom would you vote? Again, this is not a small 150, like the Monmouth poll, the Quinnipiac poll. We have spoken with, this was, again, just the quota for yesterday, 524 black voters. Kamala is only at 70.8%. Despite everything you hear, even the Wall Street Journal poll is like, she's up to 80. Maybe with leaners, she gets a little closer to 80, but she is nowhere near Joe Biden. Did the Wall Street Journal poll speak to this many black voters? Did the Wall Street Journal make sure that they're nice, good, and stratified? Did you speak to too many urban black voters? What is your geography? What is your distribution by geography? Hell, they don't know. I mean, if they do, did they tell you? Nope. All you get is overall how many from each division. You don't get anything nested. Trump is remaining significantly ahead of his 2020. By the way, just out of this sample, about 13% said they voted for Donald Trump in 2020. So at the very least, he's up 7 points with black voters. Even if it's a little overstated, and we take, for instance, the voter validated study from Harvard that says Trump got 9% of the black vote. Edison Research said he got 12, just like we did. Nailed it. But let's go with the Harvard study, which is lower. Even if that's right, and we're 3 points higher, it would suggest Donald Trump is getting 16% of the black vote without leaners. Without leaners. Here's what's interesting. When we lean them, Trump's share actually goes up. Obviously, Kamala Harris wins them. But her share goes from 71 to 72%, from the initial support to the leaning support. Trump's goes from 20 to 28. What does that mean? He's going to end up in the low 20s of the black vote in our poll. All right? That's what it means. However, when you add a third party, you can see what goes on here. Trump didn't budge in this generic third party. Watch. But however, she goes from 70.8 to 73.1. It's just simply the undecided shrink, and those who were lean to Kamala, whereas Trump still gets the identical number of people, almost one more interview chose Donald Trump. That's it. She edged a little bit higher because they already kind of at this point in the survey know where it's going. So they're like, hell, I'll just pick Kamala this time. Only one person did that for Donald Trump. However, when you ask people to lean, Kamala only gets 32%, 56%. And I know we're down to small numbers here, but look at that. 14 out of 25 people chose someone else. That does not exude an enthusiasm among black voters for Kamala Harris. It doesn't. This would never have happened under Barack Obama. This didn't even happen under Joe Biden. It didn't. There was some indication that black voters were not thrilled to vote for Hillary Clinton, however. And we saw similar stuff like this. Undecided black voters, 40% would tell us, I'm voting for somebody else. And Donald Trump is only getting 12 of that. So it goes down. There's a way where it's beneficial for her to do that. All right. Trump falls to 18.5 when you add Chase Oliver, Cornel West, and Jill Stein to the ballot and a generic someone else. All right. He does fall to 18.5, but Kamala falls to 69.7. When asked to lean, and by the way, Cornel West is actually not getting that much, but it's enough to pull away. When asked to lean, Kamala takes 30, or really 9 out of the 30 interviews who were undecided. Trump took 5 out of the 30 interviews who were undecided. They were both beat by 11 people of 30 who said someone else. All right. Let's get rid of all of this. Let's just get rid of all this and let's go to the demographics. Oop. Veteran race. Where's the social bias indicator? This is something we need to go over. We brought back the social bias indicators this time, as you guys know. Oh, by the way, did you see how democratic that sample was? Okay, first of all, let's go back. Let's do the shy first. Do you believe there is a significant number of shy voters who do not want to share that they are voting for Donald Trump? 61.7%. This is, again, much higher than when we stopped asking about this during a certain period when it looked like the social bias environment was starting to calm down. All right. So that's what we saw. Let me go to bear with me for a second. I'm going to the 2020 public polling project. I want to get you that number. I have it right here. Just give me a second. The shy Trump vote. Where is it? Okay. So, for instance, shy believers in the state of Minnesota, 65%. Shy believers in the state of Florida, 64%. Nationally, we are really, really close to where we were in 2020. And honestly, like I said, it's getting a little better, the environment. Unfortunately, when we talk about these social bias indicators, there's something going on here. When we're talking about people who are closer to us, our family and friends, for instance, the numbers are looking better than they did in 2020. All right. Neighbors, a little bit difficult, is not better. Okay. Like some of the very looks more, going from survey to survey, it could have differed a little bit, but the overall uncomfortable level is about as high as it was in 2020 with neighbors. With coworkers, it's basically identical. With strangers, here's the kicker. Are you ready? So just so people, it's hard to read. Let me read it to you. How comfortable or uncomfortable are you telling each group of people about your political beliefs, such as how you intend to vote? Strangers is actually higher than 2020. In 2020, it was a little bit below 40%. It is currently damn near half. And more than not falls under the category of very uncomfortable. So altogether, 46% told us that they are uncomfortable being honest with strangers about how their political beliefs. What about pollsters? There's a bit of a mixed bag here. In 2020, we did not see very comfortable numbers, typically above 40%. This one's 41.7. However, the combined numbers, when it began to to prove the level of combined uncomfortable when it came to pollsters, that indicated there would be a larger miss. And in fact, when you can always go back and look, there was a larger miss, and there were more uncertain groups and more subgroups that had what appeared to be a much higher risk of a miss. It usually starts around 30%. Well, right now, we are there. When you combined it, it's about a third. Folks, that's really where we kind of were that's really where we were in 2020. Just so, there were some states where there was a lot more, like Wisconsin, but for instance, in Minnesota, where there was, because it wasn't a huge miss in Wisconsin for us, but others, certainly there was. And that is about at the levels we're at now. In fact, it was 19.1, somewhat uncomfortable, and 20. So it was a little bit higher, but combined, Wisconsin was a little bit worse. Minnesota was almost identical to what you see here, only the very uncomfortable levels. No, it's identical. It exactly is. Oh my God. That's a problem, because that was one of the states where we could see a disgusting response bias, especially in live caller interviews. And even we ended up overstating Biden's support. Trump did 3 points better than what we expected him to do. And that was with an almost fully decided original sample. We barely had to push anybody. By the way, same thing when it comes to Pennsylvania. All right. We're really on the line here where some of these, and this is nationally, we're really on the line here comparing to the state social indicators where this could be a real problem. And it did get slightly better. I want to say last week was very uncomfortable, was in the 20s. 20.9. All right. Yes. Yes. I know it's hard for people to see, but all right, let's go to questions. Laura's going to cut my you-know-what off. Let's go. Bum, bum, bum. All right. Let me, well, I was actually going to put that up, Laura, so people can digest that. Okay. Because it's small. It's hard to see. So, oof, God, Laura, my voice. I got to go back to drinking tea, man. I'm telling you. The house is not looking good. This is a question from Dale. It comes from locals. And it's a question about how the house is looking for Republicans. And my answer to that is not good. Even with an understating of support, the Republican Party is going to need to run along with Trump in order to make any serious gains. We'll see. I don't see any indication right now, folks, that that's going to happen. All right. I don't want to give you the goose yet. Let me just remove this for 1 second because I don't want to give away PII. It's going to when I go down there. Oh, I forgot to show them how much more America First Black voters are. I'm talking about as a share when you ask them than white voters. Yeah. White Trump voters identify less as America Firsters than Black Trump voters do. Same thing with Hispanics, by the way. Give me a second here. Okay. So in this poll, and I really didn't look at it that much, Republicans are running. Oh my God, Laura. That's 5 points behind Donald Trump. Now, the good news for them is that Democrats are running a little bit less below Kamala Harris, but not much. Not much. This is bad this is bad. This is going to be a bad number. It's going to be a bad number. It's going to be like a Democrat. I'm just going to be honest. It's going to be like a Democrat +3 generic ballot, maybe Democrat +2. It's not good. They're behind. They're not getting it. So I wish I had better news for you, Dale, but what you're seeing in the polling, not just with the House, but with the Senate, it's real. It's real. With the GOP primary well in the rearview mirror, why are DeSantis show X accounts like Peter? I'm not even going to say that guy's name. He's, what is their end game? I don't know who that guy is. Nobody knows who he is. I think Mike Cernovich is right. I think he's a bad faith actor. He's a nobody. Nobody knows who he is. He's one of these people. We call it playing whack-a-fraud. Every election year, some fake ass influencer, some fake data expert. I'm not going to say this guy's name. I know who you're talking about. He's a scumbag. They are designed to fracture. Like, that's no doubt a Democrat. I don't even think that's a real, maybe not even be a real person. That is no doubt designed to fracture MAGA. That's his entire end game. So when you ask what his end game is, that is what his end game is. And Cernovich has specifically referred to that account. And I think Cerno is 100% correct. He was like, bro, like, who are you? Who are you? Because I've been around since Trump got elected in 2016 and Goober National Review crowds did everything in their power to elect Hillary Clinton. I don't remember you. I was around in 2018 trying to advocate for Ron DeSantis. I don't remember you. These people just pop up out of nowhere and they act like they're in the game or something. They're not. Nobody knows who they are. They gather a following and then they seek to use whatever online influence they think they have to fracture MAGA. And that is what that person is. So I would block him and I would tell people not to follow him. He's a bad faith actor. He's a psyop. Mike's right. He's an online psyop. All right. Do voters experience fatigue from being bombarded by political ads and just tuning it out? Yes. Do they turned off by a candidate? They can. Yes. And leading them to dislike and not vote for that candidate? Yes. That absolutely is a real thing. A lot of people actually think that hurt Hillary Clinton a lot in 2016. whereas Trump was not really on the air, right? It is a real thing. That's why you kind of do have to be careful on when you land your punches, you better make sure they really land and they connect. That's why I disagree with some of the stuff I see from what Trump is doing. Now, by the way, that last ad, Kamala versus Kamala, that was good. That was good. I'm just totally done with The Sims. First, Trump supposedly couldn't win because he would never appeal to moderates. Now he can't win because he's not a, quote, birth at conception zealot and right enough. My God, we dodged a 50 cal bullet by Trump handing their heir apparent mantle to J.D. Vance and not to DeSantis. I agree with you. That's from Red Diver. Looks like a Diamond supporter. I totally agree with you, dude. Listen, the Lila Rose crowd, I don't know the woman. I'm sure she means well. Maybe she doesn't. I don't know. I can't even say I'm sure she means well because I've met so many pro-life grifters. It's not even funny. Their whole job, think about this. Just don't forget, their whole job, and has been since Roe v. Wade, is to raise money and make a living off of the abortion industry and the fact that it's there. They did none of the legwork that it would take, the culture legwork that it would take to lay the groundwork, to lay the foundation for advancing your anti-abortion policy. They did none of that. Trump's trying to win a general election. They're getting their asses kicked in Ohio. They're idiots. And sadly, most of them are just total grifters. Waste of my time. We want research and this and that, and tell us where the a good starting point is. And again, I've told this story before. I'll say it again. I know Robert Cahaley was also hired, just by a different state, to do the same thing. We come up with basically the same conclusion. Maybe we differ a little bit here and there and on how to talk about it, but no 6 weeks, not even a heartbeat. Go with the consensus and work your way down. The polling suggests you start with the consensus and you work your way down. Ronald Reagan himself said, take half the loaf. Come back from the other half later. They love Reagan, don't they? Don't they? All of a sudden, like, Reagan's advice isn't good enough for them. They waltz in with their friggin' special interest groups and their money, and the client doesn't listen. And they get their ass kicked. Can't even win the Ohio River Valley. The pro-life movement at this point is doing more damage to the pro-life movement. Put the damn measure up as late-term abortion. Start there. By doing that, you isolate liberal men who are irresponsible, want to have sex on Saturdays with women they don't know and not deal with it at all. Or worse, women they do know, their girlfriends, and then, oops, I'm pregnant, honey. Get your ass to the abortion clinic. I'm too busy playing Xbox. That's the most pro-abortion demographic in this country. White, educated, liberal, boba-eating soy boy men. And they're losing to them. Could you imagine if Ron DeSantis was the nominee? You folks, you people out there, God, you Republicans, you wouldn't have a prayer. You'd be staring down the barrel of losing Ohio right now. Let alone Michigan and Wisconsin. Like, these people seem to think like the tiny place in Wisconsin that they've ever seen is Wisconsin, like the whole state. There's no Dane County or no Milwaukee or anything, right? There's no lumberjack country, right? No. Trump is 100% right. Can you say how Kamala stabbed Obama in the back? Yes. Obama was using Kamala to force Joe Biden out. George Clooney, all of them. But Obama did not want Kamala. Obama does not believe any of these polls. Obama does not believe Kamala Harris can beat Donald Trump. She outmaneuvered Obama, which is incredibly nuts, but she did. She made somebody gave me the actual number the other day that it took. In a very short period of time, she made like 104 phone calls and outmaneuvered Barack Obama. Obama did not want her. People actually started to suspect, who is he going to install? No. Maybe. And Kamala wasn't having any of that shit. You kidding me? I nailed Willie Brown to get here. My knees don't look like this, just so you can come in here and take it from me. Which is ironic because Obama's own wife hates Kamala because guess what? Use your imagination. That's the word. That's the word. Don't blame the messenger. That's the word. Deny it. Deny it. Deny it. If I'm wrong, just deny it. Let's all take a look at your denial and see if we believe you or not. Obama went here for vacation. Michelle went here for vacation. And who was with Obama on his vacation? Bro. Better off texting Scarlett Johansson in the middle of the night. If you're going to go that route. Damn. Anyway. I'm seeing devastated wildfires in Montana. Destroyed crops, livestock. Will this hurt Tester? Tester is tough. I know what the polls say. I'm telling you, he's going to be harder to beat than people think. I'm telling you. Watch the testimony in the Kerry Lake case. What do you think her numbers are in Arizona? I would love to poll it soon. I honestly don't know. They have a pollster. I mean, I would tell you what it was if I was her pollster. I'm not her pollster. They have their own pollster. Which Laura, I mean, you know, Kerry is a really good person. I'll be honest. I didn't know Kerry Lake that well when I agreed to testify in that case. I did not know her that well. We got to know each other after. And she's one of the good ones. There are few people that I really like in this industry, in this world. And JD Vance is one of them. I think we're like two peas in a pod. And Kerry Lake is another. I could shoot the shit with Kerry Lake for hours. Never lose. You know, like she is just a very cool person. That being said, I want to poll Arizona. I'd like to know. I just don't. I don't think like the Fox poll's a joke. There's no way Ruben Gallego is that far ahead. And we remember what they did to Trump in Arizona in 2020. Not just the bad call, but the awful polling, which Tony Fabrizio put out a memo for. I haven't had a chance to go through some, like some of these messages. We'll find out. But as far as I understand it, they have a pollster. So they should be putting out their own polls. I don't know what they're doing. But I wouldn't be surprised that she is running behind Trump because everyone is. And the DeSantis crowd is gonna like blame Kerry Lake for running behind. Everyone's running behind Donald Trump. Everybody. And that ship's got to be righted. However, I have seen this before. I have. And the vote ends up being identical. Pat Toomey was supposed to be running like 7 points ahead of Donald Trump in Pennsylvania. Mark Kirk was supposed to be running significantly ahead of Donald Trump in Illinois. That didn't happen. Kelly Ayotte was running 13 points ahead of Donald Trump in the University of New Hampshire poll. Kelly Ayotte lost worse than Donald Trump. And Trump barely lost New Hampshire. She lost by thousands of more votes than him. So I just don't see in this era, in the presidential cycles, there really aren't ticket splits like this. We'll see if it returns. But I just don't know. I don't believe it. Emperor Soft Turtle, did you follow the Drake versus Kendrick beef? Kamala like one for the Drake of Kamala is like 1 for 1 the Drake of this election. My kids told me about this. I didn't follow it though. I'd have to check it out. You got me curious. I'll check it out though. I will. Two ways. I don't know who two way is. Oh, two way is releasing a new PA poll at 4 p.m. They will have 4 pollsters on to discuss. It's an open forum. You should zoom in. Unfortunately, I'll be discussing polling shortly after that with Mark Robert and Eric Hunley. All right. But I'll try to check it out. I just don't think I'll be able to zoom in. When does the FBI come to power wash a homicide scene within 2 weeks of that? How that crime scene was handled, I don't. We all know how I feel about it. But yeah, point made. Too many older black voters, too many educateds? No, they're not. I mean, he's doing the sample of black voters looks very representative down to education. It's the white vote where we're having issue here. And maybe the Hispanic vote is too female. But it's not awful. You can see what is awful is the white vote. It's not only that it's too educated, it's too really, again, that's why I read this Mark's piece. It's too Democratic in Republican areas. It's too educated in non-educated areas. So it's not too educated overall per se. It's just too educated in the wrong possible ways. And that would iron out. And I think, like I said, that's why I'm saying the environment's starting to iron out. That would be fine if we could get the rest of these quotas, on a nightly basis. And because we're not, that's becoming part of that response bias. Again, we are not going to be like everybody else. We will address this response bias as much as we can. Others are not going to. That's the difference. Yeah. Yeah, won't Stargate 404 won't happen, but imagine the meltdown if the swing states are called before midnight and by morning Oregon, Jersey, New Mexico are still too close to call. Listen, there's a poll in Oregon out right now that's single digits. I'm not kidding. I would like Emerson to poll Jersey again. I would like to see that. I have seen New Mexico polling that shows her up by the same margin as Biden. I don't see how that's possible. Again, I do see how it's possible. I'm just saying I don't see how it's possible in real life. I think it will be closer. Why? Because the white vote is the problem with the response bias, particularly the senior vote. We saw this in polls in 16 and 20. Oh, Biden's going to win the senior vote in New Mexico. Oh, Hillary Clinton's carrying the senior vote in New Mexico. And Biden did better with the white vote, ended up tying Trump with it, but Hillary got creamed with it. And you can't do this much better with Hispanics and not do better in New Mexico, because I don't believe the white vote is going to be that more Democratic. I just don't. Why? Because it's not representative of the white vote. I can see it right now. That's why. And Hispanics too. Hispanic men. They're far behind. I mean, if I just showed you the racial breakdown of last night, so obvious. So very obvious. Here we go. I mean, shit. Let me show you. Because I'm basically done with the questions. I'm very close. Have the Mark Halperin podcast dress rep by Rich. I don't understand that, Laura. Yeah. Anyway, here we go.
Those
Yeah, I don't get what he's saying. Here's
requests.
Oh, okay. Here's the overall racial raw component. There it is. As you can see, whites are a little too low. Contrary to what the Marist poll wants you to believe, they will not be 63% of the electorate. They were 71 to 73, depending on who you believe. Pure the census. And that is coming from white men between the ages of 50 and 64, particularly. Black voters are not going to be 17.4%. Hispanics, I believe, will actually be around 12. All right, I do believe that. They could be higher, much higher, but they seem to be getting a little demotivated at the moment. I don't know why. Probably a little bit more difficult to reach to, especially because who are we missing in that sample? Men, Hispanic men. It's 2 female. Asians about right. Everyone else about right. Talking about small samples here. But black voters are just black Democrats, particularly, and white liberals are making up too much of the sample. Now, what do? You stick to your quotas, your more granular, stratified quotas, and you poll more. You don't wait to compensate for it. That's not good enough. It is not good enough. That's the cheap. That's the low quality way. Nate, you fraud. You know nothing. You know nothing about nothing. So sick of this friggin' con artist. That is what he is. Speaking of which, y'all see my interview with Jack Posobiec? I'll leave us with that. If you haven't, oh, it's a goodie. Stick around. Don't forget, if you like the show, don't forget to like it and share it far and wide. Links are in the description. All of our wonderful sponsors. Thank you so much for supporting the show. And you support them. They support the show. You support the show. That's how we make the world go round. The link to the public polling project is also in the description. Post Labor Day is up because the other one is done and funded because you guys are awesome. Rust Belt poll is about... There's no percentage showing there. It's a 0% of 100. That's not possible. Well, you can see the... What in the Sam hell have I done? Did I not hit publish? Oh my God, I'm a moron. Publish. I'm sorry, guys. And I said to people all throughout the last 48 hours, the Labor Day poll is up. It is not. The Labor Day poll is up. All right, it's up now. I need to figure out why you're not seeing the... It says link. What happened there? I got to figure out why you guys can't see the percentage of what is and what is not funded. You can see the bar, the progress bar, but it should tell you the number exactly of what is and what is not funded. I need to fix this because this is a problem and I need it rectified immediately. And I will rectify it immediately. And basically, I'll do that right now. I do have a phone call in about 15 minutes, but I think I can get it done in between. But it's up. I can see it now. It's up. Let me click and see. Show title, show goal. What the hell? I may have to purge the cache. They had some, because there were some people who having a problem with ACHs, and it's possible that the update fixed that. They told me there was an update being pushed through that fixed some of those errors while checking out through ACH. Let me know if you're having a problem still, but very clearly that update cost the progress thing to show. So I need to go through and figure that out. And I will. But now you can still see the progress bar, so you'll know when it's done and funded. It still says the number of donations. So it looks like 67 to take that last national poll to fully donated. The other one, the Rust Belt poll's at 71 donations, but it's not fully funded. And then, so it must be smaller donations. And then the post-Labor Day one is up as well. Labor Day's almost here. Bad sign for Kamala Harris to be where you are against Donald Trump before Labor Day. Not good. No bueno. All right. So with that in mind, the link to all of those are in there. Thank you to all of you, of course, who share it and contribute to it. That's an enormous help. And like the 2 A's for the show, algorithm and advertisements. When you subscribe and like the videos, you are helping more than you realize. All right. So thank you for that. And don't forget, if you haven't, do it. All right. All right, with that in mind, I'm going to kick rocks. I hope you all have a very good and safe weekend. Locals, keep your eye on locals. I'll be dripping out stuff soon. All right. None but love for you. Thanks for watching Inside the Numbers. And deuces from Laura.
Book club.
Book Club, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Sunday. Whoa, I forgot. I'm taking it away with this instead. None but love for all of you. Later, guys. Have a good weekend and a safe weekend. And thank you, Darniter. We love you too.
The guy is a scam artist. He is a failed sports handicapper who is turned into a failed election forecaster who was fired from his own website because he's been bleeding in the red 6 to 8 mil a year since it started. The problem with citing Nate Silver is that he's going to scam you. Okay, so you're citing it now, and then in a week from now, when he has Harris up again, he's going to take. He's scamming credibility from everybody right now. That's what he's doing. All right, and listen to what he said in these tweets. When he puts out the post that his model has changed, he essentially attempts to explain away some weird thing that's going on that has given Trump the lead. And what that really means right there is I can't fudge the numbers too soon because I just got caught fudging them by Nate Cohen a week ago and others, by the way, about how I made adjustments to the model that gave Harris more of an edge. So he's attempting to explain it away. And then that second tweet, which you just read, is a wink, wink. High quality polls is code for the cool club. It's code for election mafia, which is a bunch of crappy polls who overstate. He's talking about the state of Pennsylvania. To Nate, what he's saying is he's giving a wink and a nod to the New York Times, to Quinnipiac, to others who routinely, disgustingly overstate Democratic support in these battleground states. He's telling them, hey guys, drop a Harris +8 so I can shift the model again. That's what he's doing. High quality means garbage. All right. The only thing that should matter about the quality of a poll is their accuracy and their track record.